Hello, this is a video tutorial on pivot tables. This is kind of a follow-up video from our Friday PD day with secretaries and clerks on how to use spreadsheets and how to create pivot tables. This data has been modified so that no student data is being revealed and that these last names and first names are now what we call sample names, and no student is being actually addressed as a real student here. So what we learned last time, and I'm going to build upon that, is when you have a list of data like this, we found that the little gray box above the 1 to the left of the A, if you click on that, it'll highlight the entire table. And we learned about these two buttons here. One is the create a filter button, and when we click on that, it turns it green and it allows for our filter pizza wedges to appear, right? And then we can unclick on that and it takes away the filter. And we go back to this little gray box and highlight all the rows and columns. And instead of creating a filter, which can be done on this little icon here, or you can go over here to data, create a filter, right? So that's in the data dropdown. But if you wanted to insert a pivot table, you're going to find it under the insert dropdown, and you're going to see this icon called pivot table. This is a great tool that we're going to explore right now in our tutorial. So I'm going to click on that and click pivot table. As you can see, the data range is all of my rows and all of my columns, okay? I'm going to put it in a new sheet and I'm going to click create. So now down here, you'll see that it says pivot table 2, and the pivot tables consist of rows, columns, and values. So I'm going to move my little face over here. So the first thing I'm going to determine is what rows do I want. To determine that, you'll see that a pivot table editor is all the way over to the right hand side, and it shows rows here. So I can click on the add button and it allows for this drop down to appear. And in our presentation on Friday, we tried has IEP or 504 as the rows. Okay, so I click on that and now you can see IEP and rows are here. There's also a blank. Well, to get rid of that, we'd have to do something else, but for now we're just gonna leave the blank there. So that's any student that that has a blank in the column. So I'll show you here. It would be all of these students that have blanks in the column of has IEP or 504, okay? So now we need our columns, right, over here, which would be the darker blue. So I'm going to click on add, and we decided to have the columns be grade levels. Now instantly you'll see -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 12. Now the problem with this is that the grades are actual digits, okay? So again, going to the data, you'll see that in grade level, there are digits, 7, 11, 12, 5. All right, so now that I've got my grade levels, and of course we have to think -2 is pre-K, -1 is TK, and 0 is kinder, and then you've got grade levels 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up till 12. So now what we need here are the values. What values do we want in this pivot table? Well, if I click on add for values, in my presentation on Friday, we chose, well, how many have IEPs or 504s? That's the value, how many? So we clicked on that. And when we clicked on that, well, it's hard for me to see everything. So I'm going to click on that little gray box. And then I showed that if you hover in between any column, you may get this little icon here, which is the 2 arrows out. And you double click, it'll shrink it, right, to its exact size. But I'm just going to make it a little bit wider. There we go. So we looked at that and we were like, oh, okay. Well, it's funny that we should bring this up. So when we first did it, it defaulted to some of has IEP, okay? So I'm going to click on that and do that again. So has an IEP, and it's defaulting to some. Okay, interestingly enough. It's not doing what the mistake we made last time. I've guessed I've made it so that it corrects it. So in the last time that we did it, we didn't use count A, which was count how many twos or fives or threes appear. And so we had done sum, and what it was doing, it was adding 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 for all of the third graders, right? And it's defaulting now to the better value, which is count A, meaning count how many threes there are, right? There's 20 threes, which means 20 third graders in third grade, rather than adding 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. And that's why we're getting that other error as far as the number goes. So count A, this is basically what I'm trying to teach you, is the best way to determine how many times does the number 3 appear in the grade level column, right? How many times does the number 11 appear in that? So that's what count A means, right? And that, honestly, double check that anytime you're in your values, you have a count A there instead of a sum or an average or any of these other options, right? All right, so now we were talking about how cool this is, because in a pivot table, when you see fourth grade, because these are the grade levels up here, and then you see there are 11 fourth graders who have IEPs, our mind was blown when we realized you can double click on 11 and you can see all 11 students that have IEPs. It'll basically pull up just that data within the spreadsheet. So you can see all 11 students that have IEPs. Now, I do this all the time, and then I just go to this little drop down here and I just click delete, because I'm like, great, I just needed to see that briefly. I don't need to keep it, but you can if you wanted to, right? So if I want to know who are the first graders who have IEPs, which is 8 of them. If I double click on that, it'll pull up all 8 of the students in the school that have IEPs in first grade. Now I can go down here and click delete, or I can go over here and click delete and click OK. Now you can see there's grand totals because there's 1 with a 504 and 8 with the IEP, so there's a total of 9 for the chart, right? And I can always do that as well. Double click, so you got 3 504s and 11 with IEPs, so a total of 14 with both, with one or the other, I should say. I can always double click on that. Oh, look at that. Why did it go so many? Oh, it gave me all of them. Why did it give me all of them? I know why. Because it is also showing me all the ones of the zeros. Okay. So it's giving me basically all the fourth graders. Let's show that again. See, all the fourth graders are showing up. Those that both have IEPs and those that don't have IEPs, right? So I can delete that. Lots of fun things that you can learn with pivot tables. Okay, so let me do a different set of data. So I'm going to press the X's over here, and let's say I want add the students that report language. Okay, so it looks like I've got Chinese, English, Cambodian, Tagalog, and Spanish. And then my columns are per grade level. Okay. And then my values are per grade level as well. All right, but see, this is exactly what I wanted to show you. This is summing them up, right? So it's adding -1, -1, -1, right? And then this one, it's adding however many number of kids have ones. And this one is basically adding 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. So here's my example. I see a 2 here for Chinese. If I were to double click on that, it's probably only 1 student. But what it did is it summed, right, how many were in that group. So I know that because right here it says sum of grade. All I need to do to fix that is right here. Change it to count A. And now I'm only getting one student that has Chinese, right? Which is great. So now remember, these blanks are any squares that don't have a reported language, right? So it looks like there's a couple here that don't have a reported language. If I wanted to see everyone that didn't have a reported language, I can double click on this 8 over here. And look, here it is, blanks on reported language for these students, right? So that's kind of cool as far as cleaning up data goes. That's very cool. If I want to see how many total Chinese, I could click on that. And now I've got all of my 2 students that have reported Chinese. And the same with English or Cambodian or Tagalog or Spanish, right? So you can double click on any one of these numbers to see exactly who are reporting those numbers per grade level, right? Some great stuff. So let's do this. Double click on 18. Now in grade 2, I can see these 18 students have all reported Spanish, right? Now, there's so many other things that can be done that I don't have the time to show you, but I really, really encourage you all to explore it. For example, if I just wanted to change out reporting language and put in language classification per grade level, right? I keep the grade level there, add language classification here, and it says count A, which is good. And I can see, oh, there's one RFIP in grade 2 and bring up that one kiddo in grade 2, etc. Some great stuff. One thing that you can do is I can go ahead and add language filters to here where it says filters, and then it says show all items, and I click on that, and then I unclick blanks and click OK. So now that blank field that was always showing up at the top, it's disappeared, which is nice, because now I can go in and look at, let's say, these 26 TKers, and I can see all of TK and their reported languages, right? And things like that. So lots and lots of great stuff that you can do with pivot tables. I say explore, explore, explore. This is your tutorial on how to do a pivot table.